So James, finally got this in.
I'm here, alive and kicking, ready to get going.
Yeah, man. I know we've spoken about this for some time. I know we've wanted to get this podcast in the diary and done for a while now, but no, we're finally here. For those of you who don't know, James, just introduce yourself, please, mate, and what it is you do.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I'm James, online known as JE, but ignore that bit for now. It's just my initials, nothing exciting. And predominantly known for LDN Muscle, predominantly online fitness business with loads of different areas of commerce, supplements, digital training, education, clothing. I could go on, but you probably get the gist from that. And then outside of that, I do a lot of brand work, collaboratory work with different brands in different spaces, consultancy and business mentorship as well. I've got a business in that, so I work with people across diverse different businesses, assisting them with the growth of their business or internal strategy, whatever it happens to be. And also internally, I work with 3 or 4 companies at the moment as well in that role within their company, both assisting from the social media side of things, but also from a kind of commercial side as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Busy man.
Yeah, jack of all trades, maybe I should say. But
and I think that leads me on quite nicely to why we're here, and what this podcast will actually form, and part of a wider kind of series of podcasts that will become to the channel. So this is the 3rd podcast that we've recorded as part of the Graft Club.
Yep.
Obviously, you know a lot about that. We've been going back and forth. You've humbled me quite a bit.
That's a polite way of putting it.
Yeah. But I think it's needed at times. But yeah, this will be the third podcast as part of the series, and what we're trying to do here with the Graft Club is basically just create like a platform, a community, whatever you want to call it, of like-minded individuals and creatives, a place where people can just come together, relatable people. That was very important for me to create that. Inspire personal growth, encourage both business, entrepreneurship, and generally have a trade-off of good energy. But the key for me was to get relatable people on the podcast. So obviously, you and I, we've been very good friends for a number of years, but having you on here, mate, and with the reach that you have, it ticks all the boxes in all the right ways. As we know that there are so many of these things that go on, and they have a lot of like red tape, and there's all this like pretentious.
Oh, 100%. And I couldn't be further away from wanting to be involved in something that was like that. I would have said no if it was. But the whole premise of the Graft Club and kind of the idea that you've been speaking about for probably years now, really, in putting this together, is something that's so powerful in the sense that if you think about social media, it's quite, for a lot of people, it's either a daunting or a toxic place. Yeah. And it's quite false in many ways as well. And you feel connected to people, but you're not necessarily connected to people because quite often you don't know that person. And there's a lot of smoke and mirrors that goes on. But to have a kind of safe environment for people that they feel like is constructive, they can mingle with people with good energy, people that are about the same thing.
Yeah, of course.
It's not elitist. You don't have to be worth X amount of money or wear X suit or X designer brand. It's all just united by what's in here, really.
Absolutely.
Fundamentally.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't care where you're from, where you've grown up, what you've been through. It's a blank canvas for people to kind of come together and share knowledge, experience, support, positivity. All those things that unfortunately perhaps aren't that common on social media or aren't that easy to find, or you think, well, maybe I have got rapport with someone online, but what's the motive? Is it money? Are they trying to find out about my business?
100%.
What is it? But have that safe kind of environment is such a clever and great idea, and something that's really, really needed.
And the funny thing is, it's like this all stemmed, as you know, from like almost my own personal experiences of kind of starting my own business and the early failures. And I know we have talked about it a lot, where you think you're going to start a business and be this business owner and drive the nice cars and have the nice things, and it's all going to be sunshine and roses, but you quickly realise that's not the case.
Yeah, 100%. And the key thing is that's not from a social media perspective, that's not the kind of information people give you, because they're either too proud or it doesn't bang online.
So do you think it's over glamorized? Do you think
look, I mean, like, we're rough and ready, let's talk about it in a raw sense, because that's why people are listening. I'm not here to glamorize it in the sense that I will tell you the ups and I'll tell you the downs, and I think it's important for people to know that, not because Well, for two reasons. One is because people get disheartened if they think, oh, but these guys are doing really well and I'm not, and therefore I'm comparing myself to them, and therefore I feel a bit down or depressed about how I'm underachieving.
Yeah, of course.
But that's quite often because they're comparing themselves to a false reality, and that's a real problem. And secondly, also is to give people a realization that actually, is it the right thing to do? Because so many people throw the towel in, give up a job, give up financial security, give up a social life and a balance that they may have had in their life around a full-time employed job where they finish at 5 and it's their own space, to pursue this dream that they're looking at. But that's because they've seen a dream.
Yeah.
If we give people the information that is our experience, okay, granted, you could put another person in this room that might say, yeah, built my own business, sit on a beach, and life's easy. Fine, but that's not my experience of it. That's not your experience of it. And in the network of people I'm friends with, that's not their experience of it either. And I think for young men, women, or anyone that's willing to make that change, yes, pursue your dreams, don't have someone crush them, but you've got to make a cost-benefit analysis, a pros and cons.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't give you the cons, it's a very easy leap of faith to make.
That's an interesting point, mate. I think, so are you almost saying that you touched on this point of having that end goal, that dream, however you want to phrase it or however you want to look at it. But do you think you almost have to risk it for something that you can't, something that isn't necessarily tangible there and then? But
it's a leap of faith. It's a gamble. It is, because we don't have a crystal ball. Yeah. Okay, if mummy and daddy are putting up the money for the business and it all goes wrong, okay, maybe it's not the same kind of gamble that you and I have. But for the average person listening to this, of course it's a gamble. Yeah. And I'm not saying don't gamble. I don't gamble, but do pursue your dreams, but enter it with a clear and very realistic mindset. Because if you don't, that's when people get disheartened, and that's when people ultimately think, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. I wish I'd known this when I started that, or I wish I'd known this when I gave my resignation in, or maybe I shouldn't have given my resignation in. I should have started this on the side and not taken that complete all or nothing approach. Yeah, for sure. And I think the problem is, when you touch on that as well, you get blinded by this stuff on social media, this whole, entrepreneurs are risk takers and all this kind of mad culty stuff that comes across online. And are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to take the risks? But I don't think that's necessarily, for me, that's not the information that's helpful. Yeah. Because the person saying that's able to easily preach that because they are either successful or are selling the pretense of success to sell you a product off the back of it. Yeah, absolutely. So people think, I'll watch that. Yeah, okay, maybe I'm not ballsy enough for this. Maybe I need to sack it all in. But that's not the way I've ever been. And I've never put myself in a financially dangerous, reckless, stressful position knowingly, because we're no stranger to it, but to factor in kind of when mental health goes wrong, for men particularly, I would say, it's around money.
100%.
Well, you can't support your family. Well, that great idea you listen to about, just take that leap. Suddenly it all comes crashing down on you. It's not funny at all. No, absolutely. It's a serious situation.
I think just in social media is bad for it, but everywhere you seem to turn to nowadays, online, on social media, on YouTube, there is someone who is ultra successful in their own way, or claim to be, that try and sell you this dream. And there are, with this whole podcast thing, I've been the first to say it, I'm not here trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not here today trying to reinvent the wheel. No, what we are trying to do is bring a fresh rawness to it, like
objectivity,
100%. Just
straight raw facts. Take it or leave it.
Exactly. Just say it exactly as it is. Not to over glamorize it. Your personal experiences, the highs, the lows, and I know from being friends with you over the last 7 or 8 years, like the highs are really high, but the lows are really low, mate.
We were talking in the car on the way to this podcast, and I finished at 2:00 this morning. Yeah, is that's not something I'm afraid to say, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot to get done.
So why'd you do it then? Why?
Because what's the other option, mate? Once you're in this,
go and get a job.
Yeah, true, go and get a job. But when you've pursued something for, another thing people don't think about as well, when you've pursued something for X amount of years, if you then go and get a job, click a finger, but you haven't built a career for the last 8 years. You've built a career in your own capacity, in your own business, and you've proved your worth in that respect. But on the job market, you haven't progressed within a company. You haven't got to a certain tier or certain qualification within that skill set. So where do you sit in the job market? It's all very well and saying, but what job are you walking into?
Reality is nowhere.
Exactly. What is your skill set now? Oh, I've built this business. I've done this. I've done X and Y. Cool. Well, that's not the job.
Yeah.
So what salary are you walking into?
Yeah. 100%.
It's not like, oh, well, I could just jump over to this, do it for a few years. If it's not for me, go back. Because, again, there's an opportunity cost in that time period. What could you have been doing? You could have climbed up the ladder or internally within a company and got to a certain pay grade or certain, job role, job title, what have you. And you've forgone that in pursuit of this. There's always a kind of a caveat to it. But I think people that get clouded by the kind of, right, I've seen this guy and, let's be judgmental. I can be stereotypical about some men, oh, nice, yeah, all right, he's got a car, I want to go and do that, that's cool, or he's got this lifestyle. That's what they pursue. But it's blind, completely blind to everything around behind that car.
They don't
blind.
Yeah, all they do is they see
the good,
that one post, but they don't see and
they don't see the bad and the ugly.
Mate, they don't,
because we're in a culture where you don't post the bad, you don't post the ugly. That being said,
no one wants to see that. No one wants to.
That being said, there's a shift now where you've almost got the other extremity, where people clout off the bad and they clout off the ugly because it's something that does get a lot of, rightly so, support online, where if people perceive someone to be struggling, they reach out and they support it and they get involved, which is great. But you now have that other extremity where people are clout chasing off the negative because that's the thing that gets views, interaction, engagement, people buying into you. Hey,
yeah, 100%.
Are they actually struggling, or is it clout?
Yeah.
And that's, I'll be outspoken about it. But again, this is what I mean: smoke and mirrors. Who knows what to believe? Is that person successful? Are they truly depressed? Are they looking for more engagement? Is the platform tanking? If they get more engagement, is that pulling more people into an end product they're selling?
Yeah, 100%.
Where are we sitting? Because you don't know, and that's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you're weighing up your own life, ultimately, a lot of people are weighing it up based on what the people they look up to and follow are doing or saying to do. But somewhere in here, there has to be a line in the sand that's your own cognitive function, your own brain, your own dream, your own aspiration, your own morality, your own ethos, and you have to pursue that. You can't allow, because otherwise you're going to be pulled 50 other directions, and then you sit down and think, who the hell am I?
Yeah, of course.
What am I?
Yeah.
Why am I?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
No, 100%.
You're just a bit of jelly in a mould, just being bent around whatever's current that time or that month. We bring it back to the Graft Club, but to be in an environment where you haven't got that level of, delusion, manipulation, end goal. You've just got a room full of powerful people in their own sphere, but united by a common mindset, is unique,
100%,
is novel,
Yeah.
is invaluable. And to be able to be in that space and offline in some respects at those meets and when you do your meetups and your events, and actually talk to another human, not through a computer.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need that.
It's powerful, man.
For me, looking around, and obviously when you started it, we spoke and we had discussions around how it may look, or
we've gone back and forth a lot. Like
we have, yeah.
I remember I was at your place till probably 2-3 in the morning the other day, and hearing some home truths, but I needed to, because we touched on it, and you said that you're guilty of it as well when you're so engrossed in something, and it consumes you. It's your life, and I know you're guilty of it because you're so passionate about what you do, and under muscle, that sometimes it is hard to look at it objectively.
Yeah, from the outside, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And that's ultimately, like, a lot of the business consultancy and mentorship I do is I'm working with someone that's so intricately involved in their own business. They can't, even if they try and divorce their head and step out and look at it from an outsider's point of view, it's physically impossible, or mentally impossible, should we say. So I'm that person that's able to do that. But equally, I put my hands up. It's very difficult for me to do that within my own business. But I provide that and do that with a lot of people, and it's powerful. Yeah. And we spoke about it earlier as well, but, we work on our own majority of the time. So, if I've got, or you've got a question or a debate or something you're not sure about, you're speaking to the wall about it.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you're dwelling on it over hours and hours and hours and hours. And that's not ultimately constructive, really.
No.
And you're still always going to be at the bequest of your own brain and what you think's right. So actually, to be around other people where no one's got a vested interest in your business, no one's got a bias, but they've got a brain that's united by the mindset that we talked about, to be able to bounce ideas off people and be like, okay, what do you think? And just have a third party, non-judgmental person to be able to assist you is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, 100%.
It's what people pay me a lot of money to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to be in that environment and help each other in that, and actually, you know, you might have someone in that room that's actually probably more reflects an end consumer for your product or your service, and able to almost market research your product off them and say, what would you do? What would you do? Even if you're showing them, you know, I don't know, for instance, let's say in January we launch our digital products for fitness and training. I know what cover image of that digital training product I think looks best.
Yeah.
I'm not buying it. So to be in an environment, even at the Graft Club, and say to 5 people, even to fitness, lightly into it, or that's an end consumer for me.
Yeah, 100%.
What out of these 3 options, what do you like?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if I put that up online and put a poll up, 60% of the people that vote might be competitor businesses.
Yeah.
Saying the thing that looks worse because they want me to not do well because they want to perform themselves.
Yeah, of course.
And this is what I mean about that smoke and mirrors and the lack of stability with the online kind of world versus something like this.
You know, and that's why from the get-go, you know, I wanted you to be a part of this. I think the first time I told you about it, you were just like, mate, I'm on board.
100%.
The intentions are good.
And you'd show me other entities that exist in this world. It's not, like you said, we're not reinventing the wheel.
No,
this idea exists. But, you know, and without, you know, we don't need to name or anything.
Yeah.
I don't feel like someone reflects diversity and, what's the word you use? Relatable.
Yeah, relatable.
And provides that relatable proposition. I don't think it's being done. It's not being done, in my eyes.
And do you know what the funny thing was? It's like about a year ago, I looked at joining one of these. There are a few out there, but I looked at joining one of these like member clubs, and I didn't meet any of the prerequisites. I didn't meet any of them. I genuinely did not meet any of them, and it was a bit of a I don't know. I think for a few days there was a bit of self-doubt there, because I was like, well,
it's elitist though, isn't it? And that's what we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely, and it did make me feel that I perhaps wasn't quite adequate enough. But yeah, and that's why I kind of speaking to you and speaking to other people. I thought, you know what, well, I can do this on my own.
100%.
I can create my own. I've got a powerful network around me, through the likes of yourself and some other close friends, that I can actually create something that is super inclusive rather than solely exclusive, and bases you on your societal status, what you earn, what your turnover of a company is. Like that, mate, to me, that's all BS. Like, what about the 2021-year-old that has a business idea, doesn't quite know how to execute it, or knows that he wants to surround himself by some powerful people, mindset-wise? You're already excluding that person. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
100%. And I think a key thing here as well is that by having those prerequisites to enter, that then necessarily means that when you're in that club, the people you're mingling with, you're already in a position where actually that person probably is over and above someone that's willing to and able to help you. Yeah, you don't actually have people at the ground, which are the people that from the grassroots up that we need in order to assist us with the real realization of building your own company from the scratch upwards. That's what the information that people want and need. There's lots of people in that room that it's either still an idea in here, or they're executing, or it's going slowly, or not the way they want. Why would you want to be necessarily around for your first bit of advice someone that's at stage 10 already?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think a lot of people are like, I want to be surrounded by millionaires and billionaires because they're the people that are going to give me the magic trick to go and make that money. Yeah. It didn't happen in a night. Rome wasn't built in a day. Let's get realistic about this. I need the practical, harsh truths to start and understand how it should and look and feel.
I'm trying to take it back to kind of where it started for you then. Did you, with LDN Muscle, did you know that was a space that you always wanted to go into? And my second question is, did you know that you always wanted to start your own business?
Okay, so let's take the first one first. I specialised, or I qualified as a barrister. Law was my background. I went away and studied for 4 years to do that. Blood, sweat, tears and more. So that was I I didn't always know I wanted to be a barrister. I didn't grow up and look at that and think that's what I wanted to do. But as my life went on, for various different reasons, I became interested in the law, for good and for bad. And it was.
So if anyone needs representing, can you? Are you still?
No comment. Got you. But yeah, so that was the career I embarked on, and that's, you know, later in life what, you know, in my teens I thought that's what I'm going to do. I'm interested in that for whatever reason it may have been. So that's what I went down. And the fitness side of things only was something that when I started studying law became, I dabbled with the gym and trained a little bit, but fitness started to become a hobby, a passion, and something that around the very strict kind of study life I could build into it.
Yeah, for sure.
I played a bit of football uni, but the commitment side of team sports became difficult with the amount of studying I needed to do. So it slowly evolved the fitness into a hobby, and then something I was like, actually, when I qualified, people want to know how to get in shape, but around the busy life, i.e. a full-time job. And sometimes a lot of the advice was for people that were PTs or people that were in the fitness game that could train when they fancied it or eat when they fancied it. So it was kind of born out of that. But it definitely wasn't a vocation of mine, something that I thought from the start that, I'll get into fitness, because I was always fit and healthy, but I wasn't into the gym and resistance training and the stuff that we now do. So it wasn't a game plan. It wasn't a crystal ball. It evolved. And I started it when I was working for a law firm. It was never monetized at the beginning. It was a hobby and a passion that then grew into a commercial proposition. And then I'm sat here today as my main kind of business.
So London Muscle, when you first started it was I guess purely a passion project then.
Yeah, it was just a blog. It was no money changing hands. It wasn't even a business. It wasn't incorporated. It was just a free advice port for people that wanted to sift through the BS online to do with fitness, and think, right, I'm X age, X gender, I want to look X way, I have X amount of hours a week, what can I actually look like? And us guys at the time, there's 4 of us that built the business, myself and my twin brother Tom, and another set of lads, we're all in full-time work, and we were like, this is what we look like, and this is what we do. This is what's realistically achievable.
Yeah.
We don't take steroids, we don't take drugs, this is how we look.
Yeah,
so
100%.
if you want to do the same, here's the information to do it. And again, like we were saying earlier, just bring it down to the raw facts. And we weren't selling something. So there was no hidden agenda. This was like, we're helping you. You're asking us questions, we're helping you. Yeah. So it's a 6-month process of giving people free value-add content, which people followed what we did. I've only got 25 minutes of lunch. Okay, fine, you can train in 25 minutes. Yeah. The PT might tell you need an hour. I don't have an hour. Yeah. We need an hour. I don't have an hour. Well, computer's saying no then. Well, no, there's always a solution. There's always a workaround. There's always a compromise. There's always a way of changing things. So we built it off that. And then after 6 months, it was quite clear that the amount of time that was invested in people, questions and answers, helping people, just wasn't viable to do it for free.
Absolutely.
Couldn't do it. Everything, sat at at the law firm under a table asking questions on Twitter about someone's diet and stuff. We've got to monetize this.
That's interesting though that you said at the beginning it was never for the money. Right. It was never for the money. It was purely out of passion. You were interested in that. It started off as a hobby. Do you think there's a lot of people that I know, some friends, some acquaintances that jump into a lot of things, and the first thing on their mind is, right, I'm jumping into this for the dough,
monetization.
And I get that. That's probably just the culture that you see nowadays. You talks about it, social media and stuff. But I've never done anything that way. Obviously, it's your time, and you have to, some way, shape, or form. You've got to value your time, right? I get that. But do you think getting into something, starting a venture with money at the forefront of your mind is almost setting yourself up for failure, going into it with the wrong intentions? What's your thoughts on that?
Very, very good question. And I think that it's actually, weirdly, the two are so related, but it's the order of which you go about it. If option 1 was this, passion to start with, I'm going to create a proposition from passion, something I'm genuinely interested in, something I'm passionate about, and I have a very clear direction of what it is that I want to achieve. Because let's face it, most of what we're doing is similar to what someone else is doing.
Yeah, of course.
For me, that's a strong foundation. For me, that's a clear direction. And for me, that's a must. So that's the starting point. Secondly, after that passion starts to mould the entity that you're creating, commercialization comes into it. Because it has to, like you say, unless it's a charitable endeavour or something that is genuinely a hobby and you've got the luxury to be able to afford that, you have to have the element of commercial sustainability feature, because otherwise it's not going to continue. If that was option 1, that would be my preference. Option 2 is the way you're talking about, which people do. Yeah. They go money first. And that doesn't allow the business, the entity, to form an identity, because they're just driven by the commercial chain, and the commercial chain, unless you've got an active following of people before, will always be quite slow anyway at the beginning.
So what you're saying is when they first start out, they'll just go wherever the money is, right?
So then if we talked about that line in the sand, there's no foundation.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's just very malleable and flexible, because it's just like, oh, money's over there, money's over there. But what does that entity, as a foundation, as a brand, as something that's starting to develop, what does it look like? How's it established itself?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no consistency.
Yeah.
So that's my preference on it. But again, it depends what industry you're in. You might have a brand, and the brand isn't anything that's got any personal element to it at all. It's just a very, very simple commercial product. You know, you're buying something for X and you're selling it for Y. Well, then in that instance, you don't even need necessarily a social following or a brand identity or people to buy into it. It's just a simple commercial transaction. You're buying something for X and you're selling it for Y. And in that instance, of course, you're going to go where the money is, because you're going to go where the product is that's the cheapest and got the highest return to flip.
Yeah, of course.
So in that instance, it's fine. But I think for a lot of what people are listening to this, and for yourself and for me, a lot of the industries we're in, albeit different, require that element of personal buy-in to some extent. And to get the personal buy-in, and for people to understand what you were about as the Graft Club, there has to be a passion behind it. I'm not attending an event for you if you don't give a monkeys about what it's about, or if you don't buy into your own proposition. And I'd see through it straight away. I wouldn't be sat here having a conversation with you.
That was one of the conversations we had the other day, wasn't it? I said, you said, mate, you have to be the face
100%
behind it. And I was like, yeah, but what about just like a picture of this and a picture of that? You're like, no. Like, it's not
soulless, no identity.
I came away from that like a bit. You know, I was deflated because I was.
Yeah.
'Cause you told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. But upon reflection, I mean, yesterday was the first time that I actually flipped the camera around and filmed those bits, and that was a big, massive like achievement, milestone for me to actually do that.
Yeah.
And take the time out to. Never in a million years that I thought, I think I would do that. I'd be able to.
I think in a lot of fields, especially something like this, if I was sat there looking at the Graft Club and I didn't know who was behind it, I'm not turning up to an event with a stranger. Yeah. First thing my mum told me, don't talk to strangers. Do you know what I mean? But jokes aside, and also I think if you're credible, if you're true, if you're genuine, if you're honest, if you're not smoke and mirrors and BS, get in the mix.
Yeah.
And you like to sit on this for an hour and talk openly. If you're true to your word and what you're saying is genuine, this isn't hard.
Yeah, 100%.
It comes from the heart. It's easy.
Yeah, of course.
If you're in here and you're talking rubbish, it's a long hour.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you're a very good fraud artist if you can.
Because you just.
And that's why podcasts I think are quite good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, people can talk rubbish on it, but I think when you film it as well, people can get a true interest. Is this person truly passionate, or are they talking a load of hot air? I think in this day and age where people are a little bit more savvy, and it's clear over time, the whole social media thing. At the beginning, if you think about, let's think about how people marketed on there. The influencer marketing worked at the beginning really well.
Yeah.
Someone with a following said they use something, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, they use that! I'm going to buy it." Now, hey guys, just want you to say, what do you do when you see that?
Yeah.
You think, oh, shut up.
Yeah. It's the same old crap. Isn't it?
It's on repeat. So I think people's ability to assess stuff's a lot stronger, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ignorant people still around that need maybe some harsh reality lessons on stuff. But I think you have to showcase who you are and what you're about, if it lends itself to that.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more. You've been going almost 10 years now.
Yeah.
London Muscle. 10 years when?
Feb, March.
Yeah.
Time next year, 2023.
So that's a decade, mate. Decade in this space.
Yeah.
I know, obviously, over those 10 years, it's never been linear. There's been ups, there's been downs.
Yeah.
You've seen changes through, people that have come and gone, so on and so forth. How have you dealt with some of the struggles and, I don't want to call them failures, but some of the lessons that you've learnt
100%.
over the last 10 years? Do you know what? Some of the failures, yes.
Yeah.
Some of the failures. How have you dealt with them?
I mean, because it was a business that was founded on passion, and that didn't have that kind of commercial forethought at the beginning when we created it, it was built from a commercial perspective more on sand than it was cement.
Right.
Because there wasn't, why did one need to create a business plan? This wasn't intended to be a business.
Yeah.
So to that extent, and from a kind of commercial perspective, it was 4 friends that created the business. That's what it was. A set of brothers, me and my twin, and another set of brothers. So we're 4 friends united. And that's great. And it never had an idea of money changing hands. But had you known that at the beginning, there would have been a little bit more structure in place and certainty around how that business model would grow, people's roles and responsibilities, and when money's involved, who gets what for X, Y, remuneration, all those kind of foundational things that, yes, at the beginning you think it doesn't matter because you never envisage it going to where it's going to go. But hindsight would be a great thing on that. So I think having the passion is the primary cause, but the commercial element very much at the forefront of your mind as well, and locking everything in watertight would be a good thing. No doubt about it.
From the get-go.
Yeah, from the get-go, because things change when money's involved. People change in life. You know, we've gone through, the other 2 brothers left a couple of years ago, but, you know, over 10 years, humans change. Someone might have a family, someone might do X, Y, and Z. So if you can have that level of security and safety, it just covers everyone. And things like that are good life lessons along the way. And even just deciding who you go into business with. And, you know, if you start something as friends, but if someone was to stress test you and say, right, what do you think that person's commercial aspiration is versus your own? Yeah, absolutely. So let's say we've got Bill and we've got Ben. Bill and Ben are good friends. You could be good friends with someone, but Bill might be someone that's massively commercially minded, wants to be a multi-billionaire. Ben could be his best mate, look after and do anything. But do you know what? I'm just happy to exist. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just happy to pay my bills and have a roof over my head. Commercially, you're not aligned. That doesn't detract from being good friends. Yeah. But to go on a joint venture together commercially is kamikaze, because you're going to feel like one's running 150 miles an hour and one's doing 10 miles an hour.
100%.
Now that's fine when no money's involved. But when money starts coming in and Bill and Ben want 50% each, there's a disparity there. There's a problem.
Yeah, of course.
So having that kind of forethought at the beginning to be like, okay, fine. I know it's not a reality at the moment, but I need to project this a bit further and see if that would stand the test of time. Or if that is going to come to it, it needs to be something that we preempt now. Those kind of elements.
See, I've got this, I've got a rule where I don't, I never have done, and I genuinely don't think I will ever go into business with a friend, because I value my friendships so highly. I've only got a few friends, mate. A bit of a loner, like yourself.
I'm glad you said it before I did.
But I value those friendships so highly, and I would be so wary or worried or scared that if, as and when things go wrong, because things always go wrong, mate. Things always go wrong. That you know, it can get a little bit. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
The dividing line for me wouldn't be between friend and non-friend. It'd be mindset.
Right.
Because the flip side to it is a friend that's a true friend and someone that's there for good and for bad is someone that I can genuinely trust.
Yeah, of course.
And my friendship group, albeit small, similar to yourself, is for good reason. Yeah, I've kept it small over the years. Yeah. As soon as you are perceived to be successful, you get parasites. They're not friends, they're leeches. That's what they are. So, but the people that I know I have in my circle, I could give them every bit of my bank details. And I would trust them with my life. I trust them with my money. I trust them with my family. So to that extent, I would trust them with my business.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I'm happy to have a constructive argument with someone. I don't have a problem with having a disagreement. I'd rather actually, do you know what? You're passionate enough to have an argument with me. So if we went into business, if the Graft Club and your business and the Graft Club was mine, it's nothing to do with me, I'm not involved in the business, I wouldn't have a problem arguing with you, because I'm just glad you've got the backbone and you've got the passion and conviction to have an argument with me because you care enough about it. Yeah, of course. That's fine. If you're a wet cloth and you've got no passion, no drive, no nothing, I wouldn't go into business with you, friend or not, because this is wrong and we're not aligned on it. And equally, if you went into a business and said, you know what, I just want it to pay for a broccoli a week for me, 50p, and I'm happy, I'll say, okay, cool. But I know we're going to be arguing the whole time because you're going to put in 5%, I'm going to put in 155. Yeah. So I get the whole preserving your friendship, but sometimes better the devil you know. And if you've known them long enough, it, to me, is a safer bet sometimes than someone you put through a simple interview process. Yeah. And they're like, that person isn't what I thought.
Yeah, no.
But I get what you're saying, and people say don't mix business and pleasure. I get it. But in reality, sometimes
I think it's just sometimes, obviously, those conversations can be quite uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then equally, I get what you're saying. You know, you'd like to think you could have those conversations with your friends because you're on that level with somebody, and your relationship should be pretty airtight. But or is it a case? Maybe sometimes having a business relationship with a close friend may expose your true friendship. Is this
100%.
person a true friend, or is that where you're going to start seeing these cracks in what you thought was quite a prosperous relationship?
Well, do you know what? I think you've hit the nail on the head. Is it then the case that it's not about friends, it's about true friends?
Yeah.
So, we're both in a position where we're openly saying, openly happy to say, we don't have a huge friendship network. It's done on purpose. We've vetted our friendship groups. Call it ruthless or call it tactile, or tactful. But if you were going to go into a business with a friend, if they're a true friend in that category, or feel very close, tight network, fine. If it's a periphery friend, someone that's just like, yeah, he's a mate of mine, he's all right, maybe that's not the right person for you, because then they've got both sides of the kind of coin that they could turn into.
Yeah.
So I think, it's different for you and I because you've already, before the Graft Club, you've gone on a journey. You've gone on a business journey where you're able to start to probably, your friendships will mould as that goes on anyway.
Mate, I've lost loads of friends on the way, pretty like yourself.
For good reason.
Yeah,
for good reason. And I'm not afraid to say that. Like, people will have to go in the bin if they have to go in the bin.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And I said this on another podcast I did. What is the end goal for you? Do you want to be the most popular man in the room or the most successful?
No doubt, most successful, mate.
Well, quite. There we go.
Yeah.
So that's a simple decision, and nothing gets in the way of it. Whereas someone might want to be the guy that everyone at the pub's friends with.
Yeah. Like yourself, mate. I don't know if it just comes down to mindset, or maybe some people are just wired differently. But I've been called, boring, or he never comes out, and I never used to, mate. Going out drinking, clubbing, never been my thing. Yeah. I would actually actively avoid those nights out.
See, I did do that, and I don't.
Yeah.
And I still would, not a party animal by any stretch, but I'm happy to go out and do that.
Yeah.
But like you say, that soon whittles out your friendship group, and I did lose a lot of friends because I wasn't someone that, not through business or being an entrepreneur, but someone that wasn't necessarily around at the weekend because I was working weekends. So naturally, your pathways start to kind of fork. But then again, I've got good friends that I might not see for 6-8 months, but WhatsApp, speak regularly. Still a good friend, although physically not connected with them and seeing them much, but they're a true friend.
You just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, and their schedule's probably equally busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're busy, maybe, going to festivals or partying or raving. But you can do both, and I think I'm one of those people that I don't like people that preach extremity on any sense.
Yeah.
So if you want to build a business and you like going out clubbing, you can do both. It's fine. Because the hours you and I put into training in the gym is someone else's, their out might be the partying, the bar, the socialising.
Yeah.
Neither's wrong, neither's right. One might be more healthy than another, but if health's not a priority or not your main priority, then I'm not going to judge you for it.
Yeah, 100%.
So, again, it comes back to, we keep bringing it back to the Graft Club. Come through the door. I don't care who you are, what you like to do in your own time. Do you have a good mindset? Do you have a clean heart? Are you genuine? Are you someone that's willing to help others? Are you someone that's aspirational? Are you someone with better drive? Are you someone that's looking for constructive criticism as well? Because that's important.
Yeah.
There's no point coming to these things if you don't want to hear it, the home truths. If yes, proceed.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're 8 foot, 2 foot, purple, yellow, it's irrelevant.
100%.
And I don't think that happens. I don't think that's happening.
I just wanted to, mate, I know so many weird and wonderful, creatives that, and when I say creatives, I put entrepreneurs and under the same umbrella, because by virtue, as an entrepreneur, you have to be incredibly creative.
Yeah.
Some of the things that you've got to think of, come up with, and so that's what I mean when I say creatives. But we don't necessarily fit the demographic that society has carved out for us.
100%.
Middle-aged geezer, shirt, trousers,
Chinos, belt tucked in.
Chinos,
mate.
Check shirt from Burton's. Do you know what I mean though? We don't fit that demographic.
And I think that's what stops people doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Because the self-belief is doubted.
Yeah, 100%.
And I remember, to bring it back to going back to law school, I remember when I was qualifying as a barrister, I used to feel so not included. I would turn up to these big meals that I'd have to go to as a barrister.
Yeah.
I had a shaved head. Now, why should that matter? But I was the only person with a shaved head. It's a little skin fade going on there. But I used to walk in and I used to sweat. I used to think, I'm being judged here. And let's face it, I was being judged, okay? And I used to think, and then I used to think, wow, the way I'm dressed, and then this guy's got this pocket square and this crazy watch hanging out of his jacket. Should I have one of those? Well, I can't afford it. I'm just going to just be who I am. And then go to these dinners and sat with people that were so elite in every single way. I used to sit there and think, I don't know if this career is even for me. I was doubting, is this career for me? Because I don't feel like I fit in. I don't feel like I'm included. And I felt like it wasn't just my perception. There was an element of reality in that.
100%.
And I also felt that people could be more inclusive and maybe make you feel more included, knowing that when they looked at the demographic, you clearly felt uncomfortable.
Yeah, 100%.
But that wasn't done because actually they kind of didn't really care. And that's how I felt at the time. But equally, for most people, that could lead to a massive, massive level of demoralisation.
Absolutely.
And self-doubt to the point that they do not pursue their dreams.
You feel inadequate, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
You feel inadequate.
Yeah.
And I just think there's no space out there where people can just come just with a pure trade-off of good energy. And like, I'm a firm believer of anybody and everybody, mate, regardless of age, sex, gender, income, whatever it may be, mate. People have the ability to connect and add value to everybody, mate. You could go into a room and speak to an 18-year-old, and you being, I don't know what, you're probably mid-40s now, aren't you?
52.
Yeah, 52. But get some inspiration from him.
Yep.
Walk away with some value added to your life. But you might that meeting might not necessarily have taken place because, I don't know, he didn't fit the requirements to enter that group. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So you just straight off the bat, mate, you're excluding so many people.
Yeah.
So many people.
And that person that's signing, that person that's taken the effort or the willingness to go online, like yourself in that example where you said, to think, I'm going to better myself by going to one of these places or these, meets. And then you've bothered to get to the point to see even the entry requirements.
Yeah.
You're someone that's got willingness and drive.
100%.
But it's just crushed by the fact that you're going to get either the worry of rejection or the fact that you actually physically can't go because you have been rejected.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in this day and age, the only things that should stop people going, it's not dress sense, it's not haircuts, it's not anything. It should just be, like the old days. Don't bring a knife in the club. Yeah. Come in. Whoever you are, come in.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get people signing up or coming that aren't interested because it's, why would you go if you weren't there to self... So just by virtue of being in the room, I'm already accepting you as another human that wants to do good because you've bothered to turn up. And I think that's ultimately how it should be.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're in that door, as soon as that door closes and the event starts, we're an equal.
Yeah. We're
on the same wavelength. I want to know more about you, not because I'm nosy, but because I'm here to learn from you. You're here to learn from me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's have some self-respect. Let's listen to each other's journey and story, and let's see how we can help each other. Because ultimately, everyone in there, you're getting so much more diversity in the advice you're getting and the opinions and the feedback you'll be getting off people than you could online by paying one person, doing myself out of a job, a mentor.
Yeah.
Or you might enter the room and be like, out of 50 people, there's 2 people that are so valuable for what I've done. They've been on a similar or analogous journey to me and they can help me. Yeah. And they're the people I'm going to connect with outside of this. And that's what it's all about. Or I'm going to see, are they going to the next event? Wicked, we'll catch up then.
Yeah, 100%.
So, to me, I think it's a no-brainer I know I'll be there.
On the topic of mindset, I know that's something that you're, again, very passionate about. And I think you're quite relentless with mate, you see your passion through what you do on a daily basis. 6 a.m, sometimes earlier, mate. You're one of the first people to, I don't know, like, I sit, mate, I'm in bed and I look at your Instagram and I'm like, this geezer's on a cycle, 20 minutes into a cycle at 6:30 in the morning. Where'd you get that hunger, that drive? Where'd you get that from? Is it somebody that you, growing up, you used to look up to and you've taken that from? Is it something that is a self-burning fire?
Yeah, so
Talk to me about that.
This is the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Not from me, but for anyone. It's in here, no two ways about it. And it is something that is, it's a battle. Of course it's a battle. No human being is wired to be 110% the whole time. You're lying. You are lying if you say you are. But you have to do it for yourself, because like you say, there's no one holding a gun to my head and say, get on a bike and do that. Go and train tonight. Go and do your work. Stay up till 2 o'clock this morning. No one's telling me to do that. I haven't got someone above me. I'm my own boss.
Yeah.
So what is it? Well, it comes from within, and it becomes from two things. One, I've always as a child had an aspiration to succeed. Success for everyone's different, but for me it was have the stuff that I didn't have as a kid.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I looked up to as a boy, maybe stereotypically. I wanted a nice car.
Yeah, of course.
I wanted a nice roof over my head. I wanted all of those things in life. I didn't want to worry about money. You know, as a kid, I wasn't spoiled. I was, you know, if you need shoes, you get shoes on your feet for school. So I was always, from a young age, it was a clear, if you want it, get it. If you don't go and get it, you won't have it. So that's just very simply been ingrained as a kid. But I had the self want and drive as a child to have a Ferrari or whatever it was. No one told me to have that. No one told me. My dad drove a battered Fiat, you know, and never had like nice cars. So it wasn't like I was accustomed to it and thought, oh, that's what I like. It was just innate as a kid.
That's not what you saw growing up. That wasn't your life.
No. My mum used to run me and my brother around in a Fiat Panda. There's like metal tin inside, rusty thing. So that was never given or something that I was shown. It was just, it's a bit like some kids might love a football. You're just drawn to it innately. So that was there. So to that extent, genetically, I that's what I wanted. Other than that, two things. One, I still continue that passion today. I always want to be successful, and I want to be able to add value to people's lives. I enjoy doing that. Outside of money, I want to add value to people's lives. And secondly, once you start this responsibility, like we said before, you don't have an ability to let off. Because if you stop, where's the money coming from?
Yeah, 100%.
So once you join this journey of self-employed or your own boss, you got to continue it. Now, if I didn't finish at 2 o'clock this morning, okay, the deadline wasn't this morning, but I know I've got a project that needs to be done for the 1st of January. So I'm not at school where the teacher's like, where's your homework? It's worse than that. The punishment's worse than that. It's commercial and financial stability at stake.
Yeah, you ain't got
my mortgage, my livelihood, my bills, my outgoings. Yeah. Doing the things I love and enjoy. They're on the line. Yeah. So that's where it comes from, because it's a burden now, and I have to commit to it. So to that extent, at the beginning, to stoke the fire has to be internally, have to find some level of discipline and self-want. If you keep falling off the wagon, cliche as it sounds, you don't want it. You don't want it enough. The rough parts, I sound like a sicko here. When the tough times come, and they get tough, I batter myself. I'll train harder. I'll work harder. I'll push myself harder. I will put myself in that like war mode. And I'll always think back and think, it's not that bad. I'll keep taking punches. I'll be a badger. I'll go into a mindset where it's like, if there's rough stuff, and I'll get to a point where you always get blows in multiple blows. You never just get a knockback. You get hit. And it might not just be work. It might be work, personal life, something else. And that stuff, it knocks you down, and it knocks you down. And some people get to a point where they get just melted to the floor and they just can't fight back. There's nothing left. The first few blows, I'm like, and then once it gets so much, I'm like, right, this is war. And then I'll just flip into another mindset where I'm like, I'm not being defeated. That's not an option. And that's when you'll see me just battering myself, because that almost makes me at that time more resilient, more robust. In my head, that's how I work. And I guess to touch on one thing that gives me the boundaries in those areas is, I guess from a personal perspective, something that I think made me a lot more resilient or tough was I watched my dad. He got diagnosed with cancer and he passed away in 3 months, and he couldn't fight the battle because there wasn't any. You could be the toughest man in the world, cancer will get you, it'll kill you. Yeah. So I watched that, and then I think to myself, in any given scenario, if I'm able to fight it, I other than something like a terminal illness, it's easy. Yeah, I'm a wet cloth. I'm wet. Like I'm just. If you're sitting there moaning about it, you're not. And if you look around in life, how many people do you see in such a bad situation? And I mean, not necessarily financially, I mean like bad situation, health, or horrible things happening. And I just have a mindset where I look at that and I think, I feel guilty if I'm moaning about stuff that's anything other than serious. And you have to have a boundary of what is actually a problem, because money's not actually a problem. When you look at, I could be dying, I could have a disease that's going to kill me. So it's an ability to kind of contextualize things. And when you've had it, and when you've had a load of money, say for people that have made a load of money and then they start to either make less or lose it, those guys, it's very difficult to deal with mentally. But if they took a step back from that and thought, well, actually, I've got all my limbs and I'm healthy, those other things were icing on the cake, but my cake's still here. They'd be in a lot better position. So I think, again, another thing when you go through this journey of deciding, like, I want to be an entrepreneur, don't lose your mind.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't lose your head. Don't lose your grounding. Don't lose any of that stuff. Because the moment you start doing that, you are just free falling space and you could find yourself in a bad place. And if you've got a mindset that struggles in the weaker times, I'm not saying I'm a tough cookie, but I can deal with stuff. If you feel like you're someone that can't, and you feel like you're someone in a full-time job, that the stress just gets too much for you. In a full-time job where you've got security of salary, you've got your pension, you've got all of the added bonuses, you've got structure, you've got team, you've got people that work around you, people that will support network you, HR if you're struggling, time off, sick pay.
Yeah.
If you struggle in that environment, don't take the plunge.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to end well.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there isn't just highs.
Yeah.
And if you can't deal with the lows will dominate.
I think one thing that's powerful, man. It's thing is, mate, you don't hear that from anyone though.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Because
you can't put that stuff online as well, because you can if you want to clout chase it.
Yeah.
But when my dad was poor, I never put anything up. It's my personal life.
Yeah.
I say it in this room in this capacity because it's relevant to what we're discussing.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't want sympathy.
Yeah.
But ultimately, people have to face facts. You know, it's what I call tough love.
I think something that I found through, I think, starting going on my own sort of business journey is actually how lonely and how dark it can actually get sometimes. Not a lot of the time. And like there's always this, I am proud of where I am. I know you're proud of where you are, and people look at you and say, mate, James is absolutely smashing it. But I know for a fact from knowing you that you are still so far off where you want to be. I know that because I know that's how you're wired. I just know that's how you're wired. And I feel like there's constantly this feeling of kind of, are you doing enough?
Pressure.
Do you know what I mean?
Self-inflicted pressure.
100%. Like,
doesn't stop.
But that goes back to a point that I wanted to talk to you about, which is comparison. And more so comparison when you start out in your kind of business venture, whatever it may be. How have you dealt with that, and is that something that you found yourself doing, and what advice would you give to anybody?
I think the comparison thing again is how your mind is wired.
Yeah,
I've never really been someone that, this isn't arrogant at all, I don't have a huge amount of role models online because of what we've spoken about before, where I see through things, or I don't respect the actual truth or entity that's behind the screen, because I know X, Y, and Z about it. So to that extent, I don't find myself comparing body-wise. I never found myself comparing. I've always been quite self-fulfilling in that sense. Like I've got something that I want to achieve, but it's not me versus them.
I thought you looked up to me, my body.
Yeah, some days when you're low, but so to that extent, but again, we talk about mindset. If you're the person that you do feel that that's how you're orientated, there's nothing wrong with it, no criticism.
Yeah.
Again, you've got to step outside of that, because all you'll be doing is chasing that person's coattails, trying to be them and better than them, rather than who are you? Because you're not that human, because you're genetically different. You're not the same 100%. Person. So why are you pursuing and using everything they're doing well on? And what you think they're doing well on, and what's well? Is it likes? Is it comments? Is it engagement? Is it followers? Is it their car? Because all of that stuff can be manipulated in some way, shape or form. People pay for followers. People pay for a blue tick. People pay to borrow cars. So don't get lost. Stay on your journey. Stay on your lane. Stay who you are. Don't compare yourself. What's comparison ever going to do? Because comparison, ultimately, if we look at it, is it idolization and something that gives you true motivation? Or is it actually jealousy that eats you up? I'd say 9 times out of 10 it's people getting jealous of a comparator. It's in a negative perception. They don't look at someone and say, oh, he's doing so, I'd love to be him, I'm going to work harder to be like him or her. It's like this level of jealousy and anger and resentment, and then getting sidetracked by that that's now their priority, and they spend their life watching that person. So I think to that extent, yeah, comparison, I don't think it's a healthy thing particularly. And I think you're not, you know yourself, so you're comparing yourself at 100% genuine, honest.
Yeah, of course.
Realization of who you are and what you stand for and what you do behind closed scenes, what you earn and everything. You're comparing it to really an unknown, someone that you've perceived to be X, Y, and Z. And therefore, it's not a fair comparison in the first instance. It's not a reliable comparison. So therefore, does it have value? To me, no.
Yeah, there was a quote that I came across, and it said, comparison is the biggest threat to happiness. I think that's true, mate. I think that
yeah, I think it is. I think it rings true. You know, yeah, again, I'm on socials and I use socials for business. I don't look up to people. I don't get lost on there. So, but that's easy to say. But that's maybe because we're more aware of it because we work in it.
Yeah.
If I didn't use it and I was in a full-time job and I just used it for pleasure.
But maybe that's the thing. Maybe you just see past all the bull. Do you know what I mean?
And touching and following on from what you said, you've got comparison, and then you've got fulfillment and happiness. And I think the important thing is that although we're all driven predominantly, and I'll say it on behalf of a lot of the guys that I follow and follow me, we're driven by the materialistic things. Not going to lie about it. I like the materialistic things. Of course I do. Wouldn't buy cars if I didn't. But I enjoy cars. Not because they're status symbols, but I just enjoy automotive. But what is true happiness and what is true fulfillment? Because online, you may perceive that my true happiness and fulfillment is cars. Or fitness. Well, fitness is a hobby and it's something that makes me happy and it's something that keeps my mindset safe and makes me mentally resilient.
Yeah.
But what is the true happiness? Now, people might think it's the money that enables things. Or is there a greater balance outside of that? Stuff that isn't online in my personal life. Yeah, I know what I know what truly makes me happy. It's stuff that it's more intimate stuff that I wouldn't necessarily put up online. Maybe snippets of it, but not all of it. And therefore, I feel like I'm balanced in that respect because I've got a variety of things that make me content. But if I only had the commercial side and the business side and I didn't have those other elements, you don't see those other elements.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I don't open my personal life up too much.
Yeah.
But I could have none of the side that you perceive to be what makes me happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the personal side of my life and live in that, I'd be a very happy man. I'd be genuinely fulfilled. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So they're jointly,
yeah,
but also severably.
Would you say this moment in your life right now where you're at, would you say you're content? And I ask you that because
from a personal perspective, extremely. From a business perspective, I will never sit there and say yes in the way that you outlined before because I've always got the next and the next and the next. And that's not necessarily a lack of contentment, but I will never be satiated. I will never be not with an idea, new business, new proposition, new way to, empower, enable, whatever it happens to be. So I don't think I'll ever be in a situation where I'm most comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, but that's just the mindset of an entrepreneur, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the business side.
Yeah.
But from the personal side, yeah, very, very content and fulfilled. And ultimately, if it came down to it, the personal side of life will always be, if you've got that, and you've got happiness in that side, the other side's a bonus. Yeah. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. Because if someone said to you when you're 60 or 65, do you want to be sat in a house with a lovely husband or wife, whatever your, inkling is, with a family, content, or would you rather be sat in an office making millions on your own? I'd rather have the family.
Yeah.
And I think you're extreme if you don't. So again, it's priorities, but priorities change. Priorities are subjective to the individual.
Yeah.
But again, from an objective, rational point of view, I have to be able to see these different components that form my life. A lot of my business and mentor clients will talk at length about business. But behind that, I can't view them as just a business. It has to be holistic. What's going on in life? Okay, it's having a knock-on effect on my wife and my children. Okay, that's really important. Is it as important as the money coming in through the business that's stressing you out in the first thing, that's giving rise to this family issue? We need to look at it as a whole.
Yeah, of course.
Because life's a lot more. But again, social media will give us just the bit that the person wants you to see. But you don't see the whole output.
No, 100%.
And again, That's what you as the individual listening to this need to do. See yourself as the whole and deal with yourself as a whole.
Yeah.
Don't start following people just in little snippets, little niches. Oh, right, I want to be like them because that's what I think their life's like. It's not like that. I can tell you now, no one's social media, if they were to come on and say, that's what you think, ask 1,000 people that follow me, what do you think my life is? On this and behind it. No one's right.
Yeah.
And not just me, anyone. Go and put any single person up and do the same test on them. It's not the same. You're not right.
No, I agree. And
to that extent, take it for what it's worth, but don't lose yourself in it.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Because it won't help you.
Have you ever thought about throwing a towel in?
No.
Never.
Not once, never. Because what's the other option?
It goes back to us. There is no
You're
option.
homeless.
Yeah.
That's the stark reality of it. If you have the luxury of throwing the towel in, but I'm not a defeatist anyway, even if I had the luxury of the towel in, which I don't, I still wouldn't do it. I've just never been a quitter.
Yeah.
It's not in my mindset. And everything's got a solution. Like we just broke about down to, unless you're terminally ill or something completely out of your control, everything has a solution, everything has a compromise, everything has a comeback, everything has room for improvement, optimization.
How much of an effect did that have on you when your dad passed away? How hard was it to kind of pick yourself back up? And I understand obviously you had the rest of your family that you had no option but to be strong for, but mentally within yourself,
no.
How hard was that?
Like I told you, when the going gets tough, that's where I come into my own. I was like, I don't have a choice here. Like you say, is there an option to be defeated by it? And again, no criticism. There is an option to be depressed, turn to drink, turn to alcohol. I turned to fitness. I used to smash myself.
Yeah.
And I used to just put myself in a position where mentally and physically I had no energy left to be drained. I was just that's how I coped with it. And I didn't at any time ever feel. I've been very lucky genetically. Maybe I am lucky that I've never suffered from any kind of mental health issue. But I also feel like I've given myself intentionally a very strong basis and resilience to it.
Yeah, of course.
So if anything, I'll be honest, it made me a stronger person.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in any sick way. It's made me stronger. It's made me understand life. It's made me be able to contextualise stuff very brutally, like very, very clinically contextualise what's important and what's not. That's a thank you for that. Because that's, without going through that, I can't change going through that. So why don't I just take the positives? Take the positives out of it rather than dwelling on it.
Yeah, of course.
And being an angry man about it.
Yeah.
Because, again, in that situation, what does the person, would my dad rather I sat there and just be a bum and angry? He'd turn in his grave, get out and say, get on with it, boy.
Yeah.
So I don't have a choice in my head. So yeah, to that extent, it's clearly a negative, but I've taken every positive I physically could.
It's made you a stronger person.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I know so.
Mentally, yeah.
Yeah. So, again, anyone watching this, if you're in a bit of a dark place, try and leverage it and think, all right, okay, that's not a good situation. No one watching this, that's not a good situation. But what can I get out of this? Okay, fine. Actually, F it. Get myself out of this hole. This isn't a problem. That was a problem.
Yeah, of course.
And I couldn't do anything about it. But everything else, I can do something about it. If anyone watching this has been through a similar experience, and we all go through horrible stuff,
yeah, of course,
and no one's is better or worse than others, they'll get it or might get it.
Yeah.
If you haven't been through that yet in your life, I'm pleased you haven't. But if and when, because it's a when, it does happen, you got two options. Make it something that's got a value add. Make the person that's gone proud.
Yeah.
Or F your life up. That's your choice.
I think
I didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Never going to disrespect anyone in my family and do that. But I think, again, nothing's right, nothing's wrong, and you do what's intuitive, and there's no one telling me what to do. That's just what I found myself doing, and I'm not preaching, but again, it's a mindset thing, isn't it?
100%.
But yeah, that's where I sit on it.
What does the next sort of like 3 to 5 years look like for you, and where you want to take yourself from a business standpoint with LDN Muscle and your other businesses? What's the next 3 to 5 years? What does that look like?
Yeah, look, LDN Muscle's established. It's 10 years old, so I think it's safe to say that's a kind of continuation of what it's doing and a natural evolution in the way that market goes, and continue with that. I think there's a massive shift for all the things we're speaking about, the mindset side of things, and the correlation between mindset, fitness, and mental health, and not just mental health, but like the fact that people are now seeing fitness as more of a necessity than vanity, or equal. And it's the mindset that goes with someone being disciplined with fitness is the same as a mindset that's been disciplined with business and life and being aspirational. So the mindset side of it seems to be sat in the middle, if you think about it. And it's links to a holistic approach of how people live their life in any aspect. And obviously most people's a balanced life would have some element of fitness in it.
Yeah, of course.
So to that extent, the mindset side and the business mentorship, the consultancy I work with within companies, and obviously one-to-one business mentorship, and to some extent, and I think it's cliche, but a lot of my clients probably is life coaching in some extent. Maybe I don't actively call it that, and I wouldn't, but that's probably what it boils down to if we strip away the layers. That side's massive, and that's really busy for me at the moment, and that's something that, having done a previous podcast, became even more poignant, and it's not something I actively advertise, but I have quite a lot of clients. And
I think, obviously people won't know, but I mean that's originally how you and I connected way back when. I think I just reached out to you, and initially we had a few sort of training sessions together, and from there then the sort of like mindset, the business talk started, and you guided me through a lot of the processes initially, and still do to this day. The mentorship side of it, how can people reach out to you? How can they get in touch with you for that? And what does that kind of entail? What do you offer? So
like I say, I don't run it as an outward kind of business, because my mindset on it is this: if you want to excel, achieve, succeed, you'll take the initiative to contact me. Not in an arrogant way, but if you're willing to make a change and want to, you'll contact me. So all my clients come through word of mouth, or just come through me. They contact me through Instagram, predominantly, or my email, which is on there. And then I have a consultation call with them and see where they're at. If it's something that I think I can add value to in their life, I'm on board and I'll work with them.
So do you turn some people away? Yeah.
Not from an elitist perspective, but if it's something, so someone came to me with something. Again, it boils down to my morality as well. If someone came to me with an idea which I think fundamentally is completely flawed, and they really want to pursue it, I'm not there to sell them a dream. I'm there to tell them the harsh facts. Now, my opinion might not be the only opinion, and it might not be the right opinion, but they've come to me for my expertise and my opinion. I'm going to tell them the truth. If they don't like the truth, and I'm not willing to take their money to progress something that I seen to be failure for their own safety, financial safety, and I don't feel comfortable taking the money. And from a pride perspective, I don't want to put passion into something I don't believe in. Or 100%. Cannot see any success in. So to that extent, sometimes I'll wrap it up and say, look, it's not something I personally believe I can help you with. So it's not a no, but take it in the way that I've said it. If you still want to work with me, then maybe it's actually, okay, fine, why is that not the case? Let's work on it, so let's troubleshoot, let's work backwards from the proposition you've given me to understand why it is that you found yourself in that situation, so we can still work together in that respect. But yeah, I've got such a diverse, amazing portfolio of clients that I work with, both in the fitness space, outside of it. One of my clients makes wigs. High-end wigs. Fascinating. I find it fascinating. Really, really, really successful, lovely lady. So I'm across loads of different things, and I find it brilliant. And it's what I do. I've got a client this afternoon, in a different industry totally. So
I know you quite enjoy it, don't you? I know, speaking to you and
I do enjoy it. I do, because I'm united by people that, again, in the same way that what you're creating, they're people that want. We're united by a passion. Maybe different passions, but we're united by a similar ethos, mindset, and we bounce off each other on the sessions that we do. And but typically just do our consultation sessions with them, where prior to it there's a clear agenda. I do preparatory work post as well, and it just, you empower people, you uplift people, and look,
100%.
Like we spoke about, it's lonely working your own.
Oh mate,
so actually, a lot of these people that I'm speaking to, it's actually like it's a sounding board for them. It's like, I need to have a conversation with someone about this. Am I going mad? Does this make sense? Am I going odd? What do you think to this? You're not involved in my business. You don't benefit from it. You don't get paid from it. You're not trying, you're not competing against me. I need someone that I can trust's opinion and thought process on something. And that's where this is. And when you work on your own, you don't have your boss. or your team member, or someone head of department to talk to.
Yeah.
So to that extent, you know, it's a really wide range of people. Someone with just an idea that wants to take it from an idea to the inception to the fruition of it, through to people that are already working in their own businesses and just like, right, I'm so in. Can you look at it from out here and give me some advice? Because I'm just stuck in it and it's coming from every which way.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, no, I really enjoy what I do. It's different.
And to kind of summarize, James, what advice would you give anybody listening to this, again, regardless of age or industry that they're currently in? It might be somebody that's in a 9 to 5, they might be stuck in a rut, they might want out.
Yep.
What advice would you give to somebody listening to this that wants to potentially start their own business, but not necessarily just start their own business, but wants to carve their own path in life and not be kind of accustomed to the system, so to speak?
Yeah. It's not a one-size-fits-all piece of advice. The advice is, you listening to this now, one-to-one, you and me, what is your financial stability like? How much freedom do you have to make that decision? Are you self-sufficient? Are you able to risk it all for a biscuit tomorrow? If you are a very small niche of society, and lucky you. Your decision's easier because you're not gambling life, home, everything else. But to the lay person, the person I put in the majority category, yourself and I included, first and foremost, don't take a leap of faith, I say, until you're financially stable. Financial stability for you is probably similar to it was for you and I. It requires you to continue the bread and butter. That's your current employment.
Right.
And to start sowing the seeds of the side venture on the side. Yeah, because that's not going to start making money instantly.
So just on that point then, before we I don't want to move past that then. So if somebody works Monday to Friday, says, James, I work Monday to Friday, I start work at 9, I finish at 5, I've got the weekends off, but I don't know, I've got a little one.
Yeah.
I want to start a business.
Yep.
I can do a bit of overtime potentially in the evenings or on the weekends, but I ain't got money I haven't got thousands of pounds to sink into this day one.
Yep.
So what are you telling me?
What to start?
Yeah, what are you telling? Yeah.
Well, two things. If you're going to need money to start, because every business is different. I start my business with 50 quid for a logo.
Yeah.
Digital space, it's free to start with, isn't it? But if you're going to need a premises and everything and you need money to start it, okay, well, I'd start by doing overtime in my job.
Yeah.
I'd start to build a separate pot of money to allow that to be financially stable from day one. I wouldn't be taking out of my current. I'll be earning extra to do that. And if that's overtime in your current job, fine. If it's not, and it requires an investment of time rather than money at the beginning, don't tell me you finish work at 5 and you've got no time. I finished at 2 o'clock this morning. You've got plenty of hours. Oh, but I've got a little one. Well, he doesn't go to bed at 2, mate. He goes to bed at 7.
Yeah.
He's had his dinners in the bath, gone to bed. Yeah. And that's how you know your missus ain't in bed at 2 either.
Yeah.
She's going to bed at 9.
Yeah.
So we're doing between 9 and 2. Get on with it. Start it. Because people waste 6 months. And starting doesn't require you leaving your job. Well, you're doing 40 hours on the new business to start with when there's not even a business there. No. Yeah. You're putting an hour here and there. Why? Because I'm drafting ideas. I'm putting down things, pen to paper. What is this? How's it going to look?
Yeah.
That's the first bit of the business. It doesn't just start, does it? It doesn't just sort of like day one, or I'll start my new business tomorrow. There's so much preparatory work that goes into it. Yeah. Even if it's just idea generation or actually coming up with what is. Don't just tell me, I'm going to do this. Yeah. Because that's not an idea. That's not
what goes into it. Yeah.
What's going into it? What's the first step you've got to do? What's the first thing? If I said to you tomorrow, you're turning up at a new job, I'm going to give you 100 grand a year to start this new business. What's the first thing you're doing when you sit at that desk? 9 out of 10 people listening won't have a clue. I don't know. So at what stage of readiness are you to start this?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and at the stage where you've sat down, you spent probably a few weeks, months drafting out exactly what it is you're going to create, exactly what's required, both financially and time-wise, exactly what the first stages are in an order of hierarchy. What's the first thing you need to do? What's the business called? What's the brand name? Is the domain even available? Oh, I don't know. Mate, you're not ready.
Yeah.
These are all things that don't need you to quit your job.
Yeah.
These are all things that need to be done. These are all things that require time, effort.
Don't require money either. Yeah.
Exactly, that's my point. And so to a lot of people, it's an excuse mechanism at the beginning. And I know people live busy lives and I know life's stressful, and I'm not saying it's not. But the barriers to getting started are often in here. Because most businesses don't require like a building and an investment to start from the actual
Well, if anything, we're moving away from that, aren't we?
Yeah, and also,
Current
if you are looking for investment, sure as hell you're not getting investment if you haven't got together all the stuff we just talked about.
Basic business plan.
Yeah, hi mate, can you give me £1 million for what?
Yeah.
I've got an idea in here. Do you want to? It's just an idea, mate. No, no one's giving you money for that. You have to have something hard and fast and tangible for someone to buy into and have as credibility. So I think to a lot of people, they're so far removed from what actually goes into it. And because they haven't started that process, they just like the idea of being involved in that process, or the idea of having that secondary income, or the idea of having their self-employment or being their own boss. Yeah. They don't ever, it's like a dissertation. Oh, I know what I'm writing about. It's very different to writing it. It's very different to getting started. It'll be an idea for years. But actually the reality of it is, until you actually start to embark on it and get stuck in, you don't have a clue what it entails.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, I guess my main piece of advice, really, off on a tangent, is to be realistic. That sounds so stupid, but be realistic about what is this actually even an idea that's going to have any sense and legs. We can't crystal ball it. No, we don't know if it's going to be successful, but there's some things that you know that just won't get off the ground. Is it realistic with the time you have? Is it realistic with the financial input you have? And is it something you fundamentally, most importantly, are willing to do?
Yeah. I think. Is
it a sacrifice you can do with your lifestyle?
Exactly.
Because if it's not, you're just wasting your own time, effort and money.
I think also, if you think that this is something that you want, how badly do you really want it?
Yeah.
Do you want to put in those sleepless nights, the uncertainty?
That's the key thing, the uncertainty.
How bad do you want it?
Your office job has a boundary. A boundary that's created by law and regulation and employment contracts. What you're about to embark on knows no boundaries.
Yeah.
The boundaries are set by you. If you're a go-getter, those boundaries are worryingly wide.
Yeah.
And that's the ultimate reality of it. And equally, the other extreme, if you're someone that's a bit lethargic and not very driven, the boundaries will be extremely tight. And you'll sack it off in a week.
Yeah, 100%. So,
yeah, I mean, to that extent, people just need to be real with themselves.
Yeah.
Or speak to someone like yourself and me, run through it, and have some tough love. Have someone sit you down. So you might not like what I'm about to tell you. Are you willing to do X, Y, and Z? This is how the reality is. This is what your idea looks like. This is how far away it is from reality. This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, fine.
I think also... on that point then, James, I think if you have a concept or an idea, I was guilty of it, and sometimes to a certain degree still am, is don't run before you can crawl. And don't think, don't have this end goal and this dream that you're so fixated on before you've even done the groundwork. The baby steps that you spoke about, the little things that don't require bits of investment here, money there. Like you can lose the plot thinking of the end goal.
Yep.
Because if you set yourself, I don't know, a year to get to where you want to be, and 6 months down the line, which is often the case, you're nowhere near there, then you're gonna. You're shooting yourself in the foot before you've already started, mate. Yeah,
and like you say, it's what you said earlier. Like, if you're too fixated on the financial outcome, that's the bit. Most people's goal will be financial, won't it?
Yeah.
Or a threshold of finance of some description. Was actually really the infrastructure creation of the business for the first part of it. That should be your goal.
Yeah, 100%.
Have I got this in place? Yeah. Has it launched by this point? Have I got this? Have I done this? That should be, for me, the infrastructural point of view should be the focus before the monetary.
Yeah.
Because the money's not going to come straight away anyway. So no point being fixated at. And actually, how can you project numbers on a business that you can go and do market research and say, this industry is worth £40 billion a year, and therefore I could do this. And it's all smoke and mirrors, it's all rubbish, really, until you've actually bitten the bullet and got started on the hard graft.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
To use, the
little plug there.
Yeah.
No, mate, thank you. And I think, as you say, man, like, we're doing this, then no other reason bar just having that trade-off of good energy that we'll come back to. Hopefully someone somewhere listens to this and is able to take something from it.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Hopefully, and obviously setting the precedence for what's to come next year. I know there's a lot to come from you. in terms of some projects that you're working on
Yep.
in the background to do with this sort of space.
Yep.
Do people know about that just yet, or?
Yeah, no. So based on the last podcast, and hopefully this adds some value to at least a person that listens to this. But I'm going to be launching a podcast tail end of January.
Okay.
That's going to delve into a lot of topics we've touched on today, and go down into details and go into a lot of work I do in the prison network, and a lot of the stuff that I don't necessarily put online.
Yeah. So that's some raw, some raw stories.
There'll be some very interesting stories and motivation for people to contextualize their own lives against the backdrop of perhaps what they don't know exists in life, or what other people may or may not have been subjected to.
Yeah, no, brilliant, mate. Thank you very much.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
For coming down today, mate. Appreciate that. Really appreciate that.
Big things to come.
Hopefully, we'll get part 2 locked in at some point in 6 months' time and see where we're at, mate. And see how this concept has unfolded.
Yeah, definitely.
No, brilliant, mate. Thank you, James.
Cheers.
Appreciate that, bro. Cheers.
Bye bye.